Hello everyone, welcome to the video on Mathematics 8. Today we're going to talk about the topic of ratio. Before we start, we must know some prior knowledge, such as you should know how to simplify a fraction, reduce the fraction. Also, you should be able to read a sentence, a situation given, and need to understand what's going on in that situation. After this video, you should be able to write ratios to compare the quantities and distinguish between the different types of ratios. Let's try the first example question. Find the ratio of length to width of the television. So in this question, we're given the measurements of the television. Apparently the length is 40 inches and the width is 24 inches. Well, what can we say about this? Well, we can write the ratio using the statements like the length to width is equal to 40 to 24. So in this case, we're using the ratio form. The ratio form is representing the ratio of two measurements using the colon as a separator. Also, it's very important that we state what the ratio is and in which order we do. If we don't write that part and we just say 40 to 24, well, I don't know if the 40 is the length or the 40 is the width. One more thing that we can do about this ratio is that we can switch it into a different format called a fraction form. What I can do is I can write this as length over width. Notice that the order is the same, length to width, length over width. Same thing for 40 to 24. We can write it as 40 over 24. And one thing that you immediately recognize is that the fraction form can be easily reduced and can be simplified into our lowest terms, such as divide by 40 and divide by 4 in the numerator and the denominator. I can get 10 over 6. I can reduce that one more time to say 5 over 3. So we know that the ratio of length to width is 5 to 3 in the simplest term. Of course, I could do that with the ratio format as well. Let's annotate the work here. So in this process, what we focused on is use the ratio form to represent ratio. And also, we did use the fraction form to simplify the ratio. Let's try the second question. There are 12 basketballs and 18 volleyballs in a basket. Find the ratio of the basketballs to all balls in the basket. So why don't we first start by writing down the ratio that we know of. So we can say that the ratio of the basketball to the volleyballs is equal to, well, 12 to 18, obviously. However, the question is asking me to find the ratio of basketballs to all balls in the basket. So instead of using the volleyballs here, I need to switch that with the all balls. Well, how many balls are there in the total? Well, we know that because they're 12 and 18, the total is 30. So I think we can rewrite the ratio as basketball to all balls is equal to 12 to 30. And of course, I can switch that into a fraction form. And while I'm writing, the fraction form is more useful when we represent this type of ratio. The first ratio is called the part-to-part ratio because we're representing a ratio of two parts, where the second ratio is an example of part-to-whole ratio. A part-to-whole ratio. When you see the word all or entire, that means we're looking for the part-to-whole ratio. And especially for the part-to-whole ratio, the fraction form is more useful. And of course, we can simplify this. If I divide by 6, both on the numerator and denominator, we get 2/5. So the ratio of the basketballs to all balls is 2:5, or 2/5. So let's annotate. The first case, the basketball to volleyballs, this is called the part-to-part ratio. So once again, part-to-part is when you're only comparing the parts of all measurements. And the second one is the part-to-whole ratio. The part-to-whole ratio is useful when you want to find a total number of something, and you want to find the ratio of a specific case. And as I said, the fraction form is very useful for the part-to-whole ratio, especially. So in this lesson, we've learned many new vocabulary, starting with the part-to-part ratio, part-to-whole ratio that we just discussed. The ratio form and the fraction form, these are two types of formats of representing the ratio. The ratio form is using the colon, whereas the fraction form using the fraction symbol. All the questions that we've done today are the examples of the two-term ratio. Two-term ratio simply means that you have A to B, just two of the terms. If you want to go for more, we can have three-term ratio as well, if you compare A and B and C values all together. Or of course, we can have multi-term ratios as well, if you want to compare 4 or 5 or more terms all at the same time. Thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one.